Who do you trust the most in your life when it comes to lending? My guest for episode 10 is a gentleman called Chris Daniels. Chris's story is very cool. The man has been an entrepreneur since he was a teenager, and since that time has been setting up loans with his father, drawing up written contracts, paying him back on time, doing everything right. Fast forward to today, and he is now leading the charge with his company, the Shrimp Society, which is a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, go-getters, and hustlers who come together to flesh out ideas and collaborate. Chris has numerous tales of lending between himself and his friends and family, and does a serious deep dive into the importance of these loans in the general big picture, of course, but for himself personally as well, and how having a pristine credit rating with your family is the best kind of credit rating to have. So I'm keen to share this with the world, and I hope you all enjoy. Wonderful. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today on the Chirp. It's great to have you on. I was obviously doing a bit of reviewing of you. It's, an astounding LinkedIn profile you have. I have lots of questions about it and kind of what your journey has been like, but I'd rather you took it away. Can you talk me through, how you got started in Secpers, and then obviously you've the Shrimp Society going on. Where did it all begin, and how did all this, this huge amount of work that you have culminate?
Definitely. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Cameron. Super excited to be here on the Chirp. But yeah, I grew up in Chicago and just like a small town in Chicago, and was always super entrepreneurial, right? Like literally since I was 10 years old, like there's a paper, little contract with my mom going back to getting a lawnmower and stuff like that, like going way, way back. And so it was always just kind of hustling, and that's how my mind was working. Loved puzzles, putting things together, all of that stuff. And started my first company at 16. It was called Mulch Maniacs, and it was a mulch company. So in the Midwest in Chicagoland, every summer, every spring, people get a ton of mulch delivered, and then all we would do is I would recruit some buddies from the football team and pay them $20 for the day for the for the manual labor and free lunch, and we would just go shovel mulch and do landscaping and stuff like that, and that was a blast. And then
So you're already
ended
doing wage packets at that age.
yeah, they were bad though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was kind of what's that, like Huck Finn or Tom Sawyer, whatever that story is, where
Yeah,
he
yeah,
convinces
yeah.
his friends to paint. That was me big time. I was like, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna push wheelbarrows. We're gonna pump music. It'll be a great time.
Yeah.
And it was fun. We had a lot of fun. And and then I ended up selling that business to help pay for college. And I came to Miami, went to University of Miami, and then there I got involved in the tech scene. I was just I didn't know anything about tech besides just being a consumer kid growing up using tech, iPhones, iPads
A
as they were coming
millennial.
out. Exactly. And but then I started hanging out with a group on campus called the Launchpad, which was kind of our on-campus incubator. And there I consulted like probably 1,000 startups over 3 years as a venture consultant there. And that was just like getting in the weeds, plugged into all the different tech that was going on, and really helping people go 0 to 1, right? Like idea to a working product, to a minimum viable product or something like that. And then from
Hmm.
there, I did a short stint with a venture capital firm and helped build that out. And then that kind of rolled into the opportunity with Secbaris, where I had recruited Fausto. The CEO was just Fausto at the time, and he was pitching Secbaris. I had no idea about cybersecurity whatsoever, but he sounded like he did. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, this guy really knows. Like, he is really confident, and he's had some startup success before. And so we kind of brought him into the VC firm. And then I said, man, this idea sounds crazy, and I really want to go cut my teeth in kind of the tech startup world. And so joined Secbaris as one of the first employees, and we've been growing that to about, I think we're like 30 employees now.
Lovely.
And before that, there was kind of in that interim between like, the launchpad and graduating and getting my master's and all that stuff and joining the VC firm, I started a company called CoinPlan in 2017 in the crypto space. And that was a company that I had to take out a loan, a friends and family loan for. We can get into that story, but that
Absolutely. Yeah.
company was where I kind of just went for it, but I still felt like there was this big challenge, is that we were young, I think me and my co-founder were like 21 at the time. It was just us. We were working at
Wow.
a WeWork. We had no idea what we were doing, right? Like no idea. Crypto was even crazier back then in
Yeah.
2017, and we just had no idea what we were doing, and we were looking for other people to kind of share what was just going on in their startup. We just wanted to like watch a show and sit next to people and say, what buttons are you pressing? What should we be doing? We don't know what we should be doing. We're reading books, we're watching YouTube, we're talking to mentors, but we wanted very tactical kind of insight from people that were in the trenches building startups as well, like all along that 0 to 1 journey. And that's where the idea for the Shrimp Society started. So the Shrimp Society started in 2017. It's just a dinner series for founders, and we would have Trader Joe's wine, like $2 Chuck or whatever it was called, and pasta, and on a folding table. And we had this big whiteboard in this rented house we had, and we would just workshop ideas. And it was great. And then, fast forward, joined Barris, kind of put the Shrimp Society on the shelf to help build Barris. And then coming into this year, it really just felt like there's this gap again in that 0 to 1 space for early stage entrepreneurs, right? And so I launched the
Yeah.
Shrimp kind of publicly, officially, and we've been rolling like a snowball down a hill, just picking up steam, and launched NFT and 10x the community and all sorts of good stuff. And now I'm going full time on the Shrimp Society to continue building that.
Fantastic. So you're full time with the Shrimp Society as well as your other role. And one of my questions that I jotted down is how do you find the time to juggle these two huge roles as well? These these leading roles as well. How do you manage that?
Yeah, 2021 was definitely brutal because when I launched the Shrimp Society at the start of 2021, it started as kind of a side hustle, right? This will be the nights and weekend thing, and then very quickly it just kind of caught fire, and we got to a point where
Yeah.
it's just like this is the all day every day thing. And luckily the team in Barris and leadership team they loved it. They saw like great synergies, and they know that I'm just a builder type of person that needs to just build stuff. And so they
Yeah.
were super supportive. And then just recently, I let them know that I'm going to be leaving Barris and going full time on the Shrimp Society here coming up in February. So it was
Very
uh
good.
it was a lot of trying, like, just trying to focus on what is the most optimal thing, or the most efficient thing to move the ball forward. Like where is the most leverage, right? And it, I think now, helped a lot because when you have time, and I think back to when we were building Coin Plan, we had all the time in the world, right? We were kind of like in a master's program. Maybe I think we were both working like part-time, very easy jobs, on campus or whatever it was. But like generally, in kind of that college setting, you have a lot of time, right? And it was just like there was no urgency, right? And I felt like looking back on it, that kind of affected us because we were just go down a rabbit hole and explore this, versus kind of this past year of building the Shrimp was like, okay, there's three things we could do. What's going to be the most bang for our buck, right? Like what is going to give the most impact to the community? And it really forced us to prioritize and then just say, hey, it's the newsletter. Like things take as long as you let them, kind of. So if you got to write a
Yeah.
newsletter in an hour, you got to do it, right? And otherwise
Yeah.
it could take me 3 days. So it helped there. And now trying to carry that over to our team as we've expanded and just be more efficient and just map everything to kind of high impact objectives.
Going back as
Thank
well
you.
to kind of your early entrepreneurial days, then you kind of hinted at a couple of loan stories there. You kind of I heard you talking about it before, your lawnmower loan. Can you talk me through kind of
Yes.
what age you were and what were the loan terms and everything like that, and how did that come across or come to happen?
Yep, definitely. So right when I turned 16, I got like this old truck, and I wanted to pay it off, right, and start like making money and things like that. And so, kind of the precursor to Mulch Maniacs was this landscaping this business called Morning Dew, and I wanted to get a riding mower, right, like one of these nice riding mowers, because I was like, hey, I need to be efficient. I'm cutting 10 lawns in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
and I was just wanted to drive this thing through the neighborhood and blah blah blah. And so it was like $2,000. I had, didn't have that money. I think I had $100 to my name. I was 16. And I remember I asked my dad, and my two my grandpas on either side, very, like business orientated, entrepreneurial people. My dad, not at all. He's a doctor and just not a business guy, right? He doesn't like it. And
Yeah.
so he's like, okay, well, come, pitch me, present something. So literally went into the living room, formal pitch, the whole 9 yards, printed out everything, and asking for this $2,000 loan. And I think the interest rate was like 10%, and I think it was supposed to be paid back in 6 months, right? Because I had my whole financial projection of, we're going to cut lawns, make this profit, blah blah blah. Um,
Yeah.
and we signed the contract. We wrote it up. It was a Word document and everything, and it was. I really like looking back on that. I appreciate how like kind of formal that he made that versus
Mm.
just like, hey, Dad, can I borrow $2,000? Right? Like, no, he kind of made me earn it, right? Like, and like, let's be serious
Yeah.
about it. And there's consequences and things like that. And I thought that was great. And so anyway, we go, and it was a fun moment. We went and bought the lawnmower and all that stuff. And then I remember like a week later, we needed a trailer because the business was expanding, and
Yes, of course.
I had to go to another neighborhood. So again, I had to go back in kind of the Shark Tank pitch room and pitch them on another loan for a like $850 trailer, and then we added that to the contract, and that went through and paid everything back. And so that was kind of the start of it. And I think that having that base of like family or friends, we can get into a ton of other stories, taking out bigger loans for family and friends, stuff like that for businesses, but specifically around entrepreneurship. It's interesting because that's really how it starts. Is someone's going to lend you money based on kind of your character and the fact that you're going to deliver, and they know you, right? And I see like all these people in the kind of venture capital world raising like millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Or millions of dollars, and doing it over Zoom calls. They don't know the people. And in the early days, it's really when you're trying to go 0 to 1, that $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 is huge. And who's going to be the first people you ask? The people around you that trust you and that you trust them and things like that. And so it's been great to kind of have that as a resource, and I haven't had any issues paying back my loans, which is good. So I got good
Very
credit
good.
with the with the family.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of how it started, and then with Coin Plan, we kind of upped the ante there.
I love, chatting to entrepreneurs on this show and kind of wondering where it all stems from. And a lot of the time it's, family values kind of shine through all the way through their lives, and it eventually, comes into their work as well and things like that. Do you think this loan that you got from your dad, and did this kind of shape your character? Did it have anything to do with kind of opening your eyes for what else is possible for you, in the big bad world?
Yeah, 100%. That's such a great kind of insight, because there I was, at between 16 years old, starting growing up, right? And figuring out what I want to do in these things. And all of a sudden I understood kind of like financial leverage and financial capital, right? And it doesn't have to
Mhm.
be from me. And I don't need to have $10,000 to launch this business. Someone else can provide that and own a share of the business, or have a loan or whatever it is. And it changed the way I think about money, honestly, like from a from a capital perspective, and kind of
Yeah.
thinking now is like there's money out there, right? But what price are you paying to buy that money? Which is kind of a funny concept, right? But you
Yeah.
can buy money. It's just what's the price, and how can you put yourself in a better position to do it, financially responsibly and on
Yeah.
good terms and things like that. But it really made me think of, okay, let me think bigger, because if I didn't ask for that loan to get the riding mower, I would have been using the hand mower. The business would have been capped at 5 lawns a week, and I would have never rolled into something bigger. And it really, looking back on it, did teach me a lot about the leverage that having capital, um, especially capital that is, I think you have a higher, I guess, emotion to pay it back, like a higher trust to it, right? If that $2,000
Yeah.
loan was from someone random, I don't know, through some website, then I wouldn't feel like, a personal connection. I wouldn't want to like be proud about getting my payments on time, or, like having this be a successful partnership if it was just some username out in the abyss, right? And so
Yeah.
um yeah, there's kind of an aspect of co-building together, and having a partner that can provide that. And yeah, it served me well. Think about it and try to think about leveraging that a lot. The venture world, which is a lot of like what Secveris is in, and high growth tech, is it's kind of dominated by equity investing. But debt investing
Yeah.
is a huge tool that companies forget a lot of times, right? Especially if your cash flow is strong and you can take on a nice loan, and continue to grow, and go from there.
Absolutely. And then kind of, fast forward to your modern day grown up life. What other examples do you have? Because you kind of touched on it earlier of kind of friends and family loans, and in your professional career and over the last few years, have you kind of helped out the same way, or have seen other people help each other out in a similar fashion? Friends and family forming kind of financial partnerships to help each other out and build on that trust and give loans.
Yeah, definitely. There's kind of like three points at all increasing amounts and kind of scales to it. And so for Coin Plan, kind of went back to my dad and said, hey, I want to build this business, but I don't have any cash. I was a broke college kid, to literally pay rent, right? Like I want this company isn't going to generate cash flow for a while, but I want to build it and stuff like that. And I think it's good. So um, he gave me a $10,000 loan for that, and that had really interesting payment terms. It was 2 years, at a super low interest rate that was, like really, really low. But then it was kind of after a 2 year period, then it would hike up like quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so the idea was, hey, like you have 2 years to build it, and kind of like it's all good, but after that, then we gotta settle up here. Um,
Yeah.
so that allowed me to pay rent and go full time on my venture, right? Like it gave me the runway to personally like live, and build the company and things like that, and that was a great run. Then fast forward to the launch of the Shrimp Society NFT, we had an issue where we had a lot of revenue generated through the NFT, but it was kind of stuck in crypto, right? It's kind of takes a little bit of time to get crypto to a bank account, right? And so we had
Right.
this pretty big cash flow problem where we needed a loan of like $10,000 just to be able to kind of pay the debts, and vendors and things like that over maybe like a 15-day span, so super short term. And I reached out to a great friend of mine who's helped a lot with the Shrimp Society, and just one phone call was like, "Hey, man, we really need 10 grand. I'm gonna get it back to you in about you know 20 days, hopefully, like max 30." And that's a big amount of money. Like my friends, we never talk. No one ever lends anybody money. We're great friends, but it's like that never was a thing. And
Yeah.
it was just within 5 minutes, he's like, "Yeah, great. Um, let's do it." And that was a lot of trust there, and just like a handshake
Yeah.
agreement. Um, and that was great. And we paid him back, and everything was all good. But again, kind of thinking through, who's the first person you're going to call when you do need money, right? It was one of my best friends, and he was the we had built up this trust over 20 26 years to he's like, yeah, of course.
Just with regards to yourself and your friend, was it a kind of a case where you had both lent each other money before, where like stemming back to the old days when it might have been $20 or $50 here or there, or was it a case where it is kind of a rare occurrence, but you have built up this reputation and this,
Mhm.
this identity of being someone who works hard and who's entrepreneurial and who always kind of, if you don't have the money, you will.
Yeah, I would say we all would. There's always be times where we kind of pool resources and share money and Venmo each other and stuff like that, right? Like, hey, we're going to dinner and one person's going to pick it up, and then we all Venmo each other and things like that. And then there's always the one guy who you have to track down for 3 weeks, and they're like, "I'm going to get it to you. I'm going to get it to you. I just got to get
Yeah.
my next paycheck, whatever it is," right? So there was kind of a sense of everybody's good for it, but never to $10,000, right? Like that, like I
No,
need a
yeah,
wire
yeah,
transfer, you know? Um,
yeah.
it was very much just like, yeah, 100, maybe 20, $100 max. And, but it was, we knew we were all good for it, right? And we knew like no one was going anywhere. But this was definitely different, and I could hear it in his voice, and he knew what was going on with the shrimp, and he's a close advisor and friend to it all, and but yeah, you could kind of hear him go, okay, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Very good.
But yeah, so that was great. And then right now, actually, I'm going through an interesting situation that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I'm actually happy. Hopefully, someone listening to this will maybe empathize with this or
Mhm.
understand this better. But I'm leaving Secveris now, right? And we're a high growth tech startup. I joined as a first employee and got employee stock options. Now that I'm leaving, I have about 60 to 90 days to buy those stock options, and this is all super common across tech startups, Silicon Valley, all that stuff.
When you get
Um,
shares, yeah.
yeah, so I have to buy, I have to execute my option to buy these shares. Well, since I was very early, those shares, like that allocation of shares is worth a lot now. And just the option aspect of it to buy it, because it's a lot of shares, and so it's like $35,000, and that's something that I don't have laying around, and it definitely rattled me and like made me think about, man, am I can I go full time on the shrimp right now, right? Or is it
Yeah.
actually, do I kind of need to stay with this company? And both options are good, but really like, whoa, that's a big amount that you need to like think about, especially when just kind of zooming out, thinking about all the young people that are going to high growth tech startups, coming out of college, getting equity, maybe on paper, your shares are all marked up and it looks good, but you've been making a startup wage for a year, 2 years, or whatever it is. So you're kind of cash poor. And of course, who knows what's going to happen with the equity. So I'm going through it right now, and I think it's an interesting problem that a lot of people probably have that no one talks about.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I was like, okay, I need to find $35,000 somewhere, right? And I was kind of looking through my options, and sure enough, I said, well, let's let's give dad a call and figure out a loan. Um, and we had kind of built up that trust and had a good lending relationship of up to $10,000. And again, on this phone call, it kind of hit the same, hey, I want to do a loan for $35,000. The kind of same pause. Okay,
Okay.
let's
Okay.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Um, but we were able to figure out something, and have a really good option there, and figure out that whole loan situation. And again, I feel like specifically with this, with employee stock options, I'm super um, hopeful, and thinking Bears is in a good place, that those shares will be worth something, and there'll be an opportunity to liquidate those. And actually, I'm going to uh, kind of bring him. The loan has like a component where he's going to have an opportunity to have upside in those shares as well. As
Wow.
kind of a Yeah, it's kind of a thought of, hey, I'm in a tight spot here, and
Yeah.
and one phone call, like, we were able to figure this out. And I think if you do more for the other person instead of trying to do less, it's going to reap so much more benefit in the long run, right? If you try to
Yeah.
rip someone off, or take a penny here, or do whatever to just dirty the relationship, or just make it difficult, it really is kind of like you're not gonna they're going to start thinking that same way. And how can I take a penny here? How can I do this? Or how can I
Yeah.
do this, versus this kind of, more abundant mindset of, hey, like, you're really helping me in this spot, and I appreciate that. And that's more than the loan amount, right? There's an aspect that's more
Yeah.
than the loan amount. That's maybe it's intangible in some cases, maybe it's tangible, like in this case. Um, but I think so much of that is relationship base, and building that trust, which is something that I don't think I would get if I went to Bank of America or Chase right now, and had that same kind of ask.
And I suppose I kind of like that abundant mindset as well that you talked about. Kind of going back to the Shrimp Society and how it all, came together. And there seems to be such an air of positivity around it, and like-minded people coming together and working on things together. What is kind of your ethos? That you built the Shrimp Society on? Is it kind of that, let's work together, let's collaborate, energy, and what is kind of the room for growth as well that you see for kind of this next year or the next couple of years?
Definitely. Our slogan is build in community, right? And really that sums it up to me is we're all trying to collectively build something, right? We're all independently building our own things, but collectively, when one person wins, we all win, right? And let's build in
Yeah.
community. Let's share those insights. Let's not think of it as competitive. There's so many resources out there, and let's help uplift each other. And you mentioned collaborate. That's one of our core values, right? It's just being vulnerable and collaborating, because I think we've built a culture where it's not cool to brag about, you know, huge amounts of money, or it's not cool to try to flex to impress people. It's actually cooler to say, hey, like I'm really struggling with this and I don't know how to get through this fight with my co-founder, or I really don't know how to fire someone and I need help, right? And
Yeah.
in that vulnerability and collaboration, it breeds such better relationships, instead of saying, oh, look at me, our startup's the best, we're so great. um, it's, we want to support that too, like we're all about celebrating you and supporting you as well, but the kind of quality of relationship that you get and friendship that you get that's going to be long term is more through that, those vulnerable six-person, like we just had one last night, six-person dinner, where it was basically everyone just venting about this is going wrong or that's going wrong. And I've been to other dinners with kind of other communities where everyone's saying, oh, this is going right and this is the best and we're the best, and all of that. And there's a lot of I guess just flexing, for lack of a better word,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
going on there,
Absolutely
and we
flexing.
don't want to be like that. And so with that, there's a couple things we're going to be launching. Our investor network, which is going to be great to help fund the companies in the Shrimp Society. We're also going to be launching the Shrimp Tank, which is our incubator, where we help you go from idea to MVP, kind of getting back to that roots of the launch pad and what I was doing there, and create this pipeline into the Shrimp Society Fellowship, which is kind of our uh, you know premier kind of group within the Shrimp Society that is the active early stage founders. We're also expanding our talent network to be able to say, hey, there's 1,700 people in the Shrimp Society. Not everyone's going to be a founder. Not everyone wants to be a founder of a company. A lot of people want to just join high growth startups and do
Yeah.
that and be employee 5 or be employee 20. And so we're building out a talent network and kind of the platform to facilitate all of that, and we're pushing very hard on the media side and just bringing the brand to a bigger scale, and looking to partner with a ton of big brands to grow the community. And again, we have this very abundant mindset, because we kind of cross a lot of different spaces or touch into a lot of different fields. And a lot of people are like, oh, don't you compete with this group, or don't you compete with that fund, or and to me, I don't see that at all. I see us as, we want to be this highway system that just helps people go from A to B. And if B is somebody else's building, that's great. We want you to have success there too, right? And hopefully that our success is that you got success because you jumped on the highway, the Shrimp Highway. So I'm excited for it. Fully invigorated now, and it's going to be a big year here.
Fantastic. That sounds great. And I wish you the best luck with it. I'm just very impressed with the positivity of it, and everyone coming together. It's quite remarkable. So if people want to learn more about the Shrimp Society or get in touch with you personally and learn more, I know you have a podcast as well. Where
Yes.
can everyone find you?
Everything is found at theshrimpsociety.com. So you can check out theshrimpsociety.com. You'll be able to get routed wherever you want. If you're a founder, apply to the fellowship. If you're an investor, apply to the investor network. If you're looking for a job in a tech startup, check out our job board and everything going on there. You can find me on Twitter at Chris underscore Daniels27. I always like forget what that is, but Chris underscore Daniels27. You can also find the shrimp on Twitter at Shrimp Sock NFT, Shrimp SOC NFT for Shrimp Society. And other than that, yeah, check out Shrimp Tales. We just launched a podcast, and we're actually launching another one called Sunday Dinner, which is kind of getting back to that roots of how the shrimp started and just having these vulnerable kind of whiteboard conversations with founders. So we're going to be recording a ton of that during Miami Hack Week coming up next week. And check out the Shrimp Tales show, which is our podcast, kind of like our weekly talk show for the Shrimp Society. So if you want a good kind of window into what's going on in the Shrimp Society, the banter, the inside stories, all of that stuff, check out Shrimp Tales on Spotify or wherever you get a podcast.
That's awesome, Chris. Listen, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great to, learn from another entrepreneur and hear kind of that age-old story of, working hard and having that trust within your family and that going into your professional life. It's great. It's great to see. So best of luck with your sole venture, going out with the Shrimp Society. I wish you the best of luck. It's going to be great.
Thank you so much, Cameron. This was a blast. Thank you, man.
One of the wonderful things about this podcast is the recurring themes that keep coming up. Things like trust, family values, company values, family priorities. And having these discussions about money and relationships has made me really tap into something deeper with humans in general. And the main thing I took from my conversation with Chris was how he was raised, how we are raised with our families. And Chris mentioned a couple of times how when money was needed for his professional endeavours, he could always turn to his dad and ask for a loan. And I love how Chris appreciated the formality of the contract that him and his dad drew up, because he said it taught him how to do things properly. Chris, from a very early age, recognised how valuable a loan could be if used for the right reasons and executed in the right manner, and how important, keeping that relationship with his father was to ensure that, it was always building, that trust was always building. And this speaks to Chris's character. His father let him come back and get another loan, and his friend lent him money as well. And even though Chris, hilariously depicts their tentativeness, saying, okay, their trust in Chris and his ability to repay these loans overpowered their human instinct of not wanting to hand over huge sums of money as loans. As a successful entrepreneur, it's clear that loans are a huge part of Chris's life and his success and his journey. And it was really great to talk to someone who really understands the importance of that trust in loans. For our Miami listeners, be sure to get in touch with him should you wish to join the Shrimp Society. We'd love to hear from you too at the Chirp, and thanks to everyone who has gotten in touch so far. That's all from me for today. We'll be back on Valentine's Day for our next episode, and until then, take care.